meant to edit.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one. We are now live. If you would like to introduce yourself while I get, do you want to do the thing? You got to do the thing.
Do the thing.
You got to do the thing. You got to introduce and say, here we are. We're doing this thing. Yes.
My name's Tom Mayor, and I'm here with Jess Claire, and we are here to talk about anything that you bring to us. We've got a few topics we're going to explore, like what qualifies a coach. Can you do a weekend training and then actually legitimately help people? What about polyamory in relationships? Is this just a chance for people to bypass their responsibility, or is it truly an opportunity to freedom and beyond possessiveness relating? So those are the topics we're kind of just first floating. We're happy to work with you with any challenges you may have. I've been working in the area of human development, personal development, spiritual development for 20 years, and I'm obsessed with paradigm shifting ideas, techniques, and concepts. So we're here to not just talk theory, we're here to also be involved in real transformation. So if you've got a challenge, you're able to jump on and get some live coaching from me and from Jess, and to see what we can do. But primarily this is about a conversation at the edge of our awareness. So we're learning as we're speaking, and we're not attached to our viewpoint. We know we're fallible, and we know we're prejudiced and privileged in certain ways, and we're here to be challenged and to learn what we want to believe next by what we discover ourselves saying in the moment.
Absolutely. This is great. I did not know that I was going to be doing all of this as I was talking to you. I'm basically updating it, so I'm putting here polyamory as well, so people actually get that we're going to be talking about that tonight. Polyamory, let's explore all these ends of debate. We're not saying what's right or wrong. We're actually just exploring it. Like, imagine if we could explore it, right? Imagine if we could just be open to, people are doing it, people are talking about it, people are actually being polyamorous at the moment. So I'm always interested in this. It's come up for me a little bit myself recently, just like conversations I've had with people about it. I can't update YouTube. So I don't even know if I spelt that correctly. And I'm going to be trying to send this to Earth Elders. I'm just going to send a message to Kim to say it's not working. Apologies, guys. I've come live and I'm having a technical issue. So now you're listening to me while I sort the technical issue out. But if you are jumping on of any of these, on any of the pages of me, Tom Mayor, Evolve TV, this is something, I mean, we'd be curious. I'd love if you guys could engage and tell me what you think. Tonight we're exploring polyamory and can I be a coach after one weekend course? You know, a couple of topics that I'm noticing people are talking about. So if you do have any thoughts on that or any questions, or you want to jump on and talk to us about this. So if you like get triggered by something we're saying, yeah, please jump on. Hopefully I'm
just checking out the page so that I can connect with the comments that might be coming through.
Okay. Yeah, me too. So,
okay.
All right. So, anyone who's on polyamory and can I be a coach after one weekend? Where do you want to start, Tom? How about we start with, can we be a coach? We could probably go into both. I mean, I mentioned to you, I did say just as I got on that, you know, something about someone I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go into that. And then my housemate was like, there seems to be a lot of conversation about polyamory. And there seems to be, can I be a coach after one weekend course? You know, Kelsey, hello, Kelsey. Thanks for jumping on. She's like, awesome concept. Lots to learn from poly lifestyle. Yes. So maybe we'll start there. Seeing as though Kelsey jumped on and made the first comment, right?
Yeah.
Lots to learn about poly lifestyles, Tom. Let's explore both ends. So one end, it's like, no, poly does not work. I mean, at one end, I think it's wrong, you know, religious aspect, potentially. Well, in some religions, it's actually legal. I'm Mormon, so it was legal in some of the sects of Mormonism as well. There's Eldorado, where it's actually part of it, and
Hold
the
on, hold on. Let's be clear, right? Was it actually polyamory within the Mormon faith, or was it men were allowed more than one wives? I might be massively
that's
prejudiced.
polygamy. No, that's right. It's polygamy, not polyamory. Okay, sorry.
Because those men would not be happy with their partners connecting with other men, I guess it, right? Which is,
yeah,
that's a different thing. I mean,
absolutely.
there are some similarities, and some of the challenges of women who are in a polygamous relationship are touching on some of the challenges, around how do we feel about our loved one being with other people, but they don't also get to be with other people too, so it's imbalanced. But still, some of the processes to be okay with that and to manage the jealousy and to build a life with more than one other significant other is complex, but there are some similarities there, but it's a different thing, right?
Well, here's I'm going to give you a personal problem I have with it, right? And I know I've said to you before, I'm going to be single for a year, and you're like, oh, we need to talk, Jess. I can run you through a process as a coach. And I'm like, oh, I'll talk to you in a year, Tom. I don't want to be with anyone, right? And then I'm like, I'm single, and let's just say, hypothetically, I might have met someone. And I'm like, I still want to be single. I really do. I want to be single, but I don't want this person to be with anyone else. Because I'm like, it's all about creating a relationship. So it doesn't have to look a particular way. And then there was this discussion of, it's all about love, and, you can love people from all different ways. And I'm like, oh, can you? Because every person that I know that's tried polyamory just ends up, and this is my experience, this is not everyone because I do have friends that do it, but in my experience, people just end up treating each other terribly. And it doesn't work.
I mean, that's definitely not my experience with that. Is it complex? Yeah. Are there people who use it as a way to just kind of do what they want under the guise of freedom and spiritual non-possessiveness? Definitely. Is it exploited? Yeah, but so are almost every other model of relating. I definitely know some polyamorous couples who are really happy, and their communication is great, even to the point where I'm like, how do you manage the complexity and how do you manage the sensitivity? And they're like, yeah, it was complicated in the beginning, but we've been doing this for a decade now, and really, and I've seen them be in the same space whilst their partner is being with other people and vice versa, and it's smooth, and yeah, they, but it's funny, if you press them for a label, they don't choose a label, right? If you say, what's your model, or what's this or what's that, and like, we're happy, and really, for them, it is a rich part of their spiritual faith, where it's like, you turn up in the moment, you go with what you feel, everything done with love. They have some very clear guidelines. I know the people who do it well follow some, I think follow some pretty clear guidelines, some pretty solid agreements about what is and what isn't acceptable. And but at the other end of it, you got these kind of radical love revolutionaries. They're like, no rules, no limitation, no control, And in my own experimentation with these different models, I have found there to be a place where I have been able to be okay with my partner connecting with someone else and having an amazing time, and me being just legitimately happy for them.
Wow.
Yeah, I've experienced that, and there have also been other times when actually my partner was having just actually a pretty tame connection with somebody else, and I found it really threatening and really challenging, and I got, had all those experiences. So all of those things are possible. But I will say that for me, when I have been able to be at peace with that, it's felt really liberating. And I'm sure lots of people into polyamory were like, polyamory isn't a personal development exercise, right? But for me, in my experiments with it, it's been exactly that. It's like, what part of me? And so, in a previous relationship, I got together with someone where they were like halfway through a tantra training, and they were like, I'm on a really intense 18-month tantra training, and I'm going away for these weekends, and I'm going to be connecting with other people. At the start, I was like, yeah, that's fine. But then as it got into it, you know, it was super hard. Then I hadn't had any tantra training myself. So she wasn't just sharing lovely experiences with people. She was sharing experiences with other people that I wasn't able to understand or share with her myself. And sometimes it was really beautiful, and other times it was really hard. But there is definitely something about finding that part of us that's uncomfortable with it and asking it, why? What's the problem?
Let me tell you why. Okay.
Let's do it. Because
Okay.
I'm open here, right? Let's talk about it.
This is actually, I'm noticing my physical experience of this even as you're talking about it. Like, I'm like, whoo. Okay. All right. So here's what I've experienced. I have had someone come to me and say, I want an open relationship. I've gone, okay, all right, let's try this out. And what I've experienced after that is someone who wouldn't communicate with me. There was a lot of fear involved. I was like, I don't like this at all. I wanted to stop. I was made wrong. Don't control me. I was like, I'm noticing that this has just turned this person, obviously this is personal. This has just turned this person into a fucking, sorry, excuse my French. This has just turned this person into a real asshole. It's like, I want to go be with someone else. I've now got your agreement. So I'm just going to be an asshole to you. So that was one experience. And then I tried it out again myself, went and tried. I was all right. Okay. Maybe you're right, Tom. Maybe I could be open, and I've done all these transformational programs. So I will go try this out again. We're on a watch party. Thank you, Kim. So everyone who's tuning in from Earth Elders, thank you. If we can't see your comments on here, just know that thank you for tuning in and communication. If you do have any comments, we'd love you to contribute to this conversation. We know everyone wants to talk about it, so that's why we're having it. So essentially, we're another partner who, said, if that's what you want to do, great. And again, I was just treated terribly. It was like, I don't care if you want to kiss another person, but why do you have to be such an asshole? I am like, if you want to have multiple relationships, go for it. But that doesn't mean that you then somehow get to disrespect someone because you're off having fun with someone else. That's the issue I have with it. It's the lack of attention and respect that people have in some of this stuff. And I'm obviously a bit fired up about it.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about the fact that it is an environment in which people maybe are more likely to be assholes. But then, the subject of this is not how. Let's explore all ends of bad polyamory, right? It's like, because I know people who are into polyamory watching this and going, well, that's not polyamory. That's just being a dick, right? And they're dicks in
that's happened multiple occasions, though. Like, I'm like, I don't just give something a go once, Tom. I give it a good. I like 1, 2, 3, at least 4 times.
Wow.
So yeah, and I'm
well,
like,
it depends. It's interesting because obviously we can't speak for the world of polyamory, and there's so much variety. But I have definitely seen to be true to at one end of it, the whole thing is really about ultimate freedom. Let me be free to experience what I'm experiencing. If I'm having a beautiful connection with someone else, then that will just enrich me and enrich you, and and yet what's common within that is some people, because it's so tender and tentative, want to have some control within it, right? Some agreements. And some people, they're into it because they don't want any control. And so you have to find people that have a very similar set of values in how they want to go about being polyamorous, right? And it's I know some people who've got really clear guidelines that they would only really be polyamorous with people who are really into polyamory. Because if your partner's connecting with someone that's really looking for someone to marry, then they might present a threat to the relationship, because if they fall in love, that person then want to keep them. So I know some people who their guideline is, I'm just poly with poly people. Right? And so it all depends on your values and your culture and your possibility. But let's talk about the core of it, right?
I'm just noticing how much confront I am getting from this conversation.
Well, it's
interesting.
So let's go to what I call like one of the real core kind of principles in it, which is compersion, right? Which is compersion, which is the capacity to take pleasure in your partner taking pleasure with another.
Yeah. Okay. Compersion. Okay.
Compersion. So let's explore that for you, right? Because I totally hear you about the fact that some people just use this as a kind of smokescreen for just being selfish, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and just being an arsehole, and just, just not being kind or considerate, right? That's awful. But I just want to know how you would be if it was like, if you were watching someone, not just knowing, right? Because there are different layers. Some people like, go and be free, darling, but go and be free over there. And there are other people, they'll literally get the popcorn out and sit back and watch whilst their partner's being pleasured by somebody else and feel really happy for them. But if you think about that, leaving aside all the arsehole stuff, like just in principle, knowing your partner's having pleasure with another, does that get you affronted? Does that get you energized? How's that for you?
So it's interesting. There are two sides to it. On one end, I love the idea of that. So there's this like experience of, yes, the idea of my partner or someone I'm with doing that. Absolutely love the idea of it. So there's just one side that's like, yeah, that sounds good. And what arises almost immediately with that is this kind of experience of hating the idea of it at the same time. It's literally like this incongruence that arises, the hating the idea of it, the being alone at night thinking about, is that person thinking about that person? The going to work, I haven't heard from that person for a long time, so something's going on with someone else. The impact of the internal conflict or the concern for something might be happening is so great for me that it's like, I don't even want to have to deal with this experience.
Yeah, but that's polyamory without communication, which would be hellish. That would be hellish, right? But polyamory with really beautiful conscious communication where your fears are listened to, you're reassured, that might feel differently. Just because people have the potential to be arseholes doesn't mean we need to avoid the whole arena, because that makes it more likely for them to be arseholes, right?
Maybe I'm just... Well,
I was getting some coaching once. Like, so my partner was away. I was new to it. I wasn't trained in Tantra then, and my partner was away, and I knew it was this specific weekend was really about asking for what you wanted. It was really about having your pleasures, asked for and met, right? And I thought I was cool with it, and we'd agreed some kind of boundaries. And I remember like this really significant ex of my partner's was on the training, and I was like, we haven't talked about that. I don't know how we hadn't. It was a nightmare. And I tried to call her up while she was away to include stronger boundaries, and her response was, you're hampering on my experience. We shouldn't really be renegotiating boundaries whilst I'm away and we can't talk it through. I'm going to break contact with you and you're just going to have to deal with it. Right? Which was...
Oh my God, Tom.
And I spent the next 3 days doing this thing where I would freak out and then talk myself around, right? Every 15, 20 minutes, right? And it was just, I would not be enlightened, then work on being free, trying to be cool, bring it round, and I had a therapist I was working with then who was really fierce, non-dualist kind of spiritual teacher, kind of coach. And he was like, and I was going there expecting him to be finally really kind of compassionate and kind of on my side. And he's like, what's your problem? I'm like, no, this is bad. I mean, she should have said, no, I'm not going to fuck my ex-boyfriend. And you can rest assured I'll be on, instead she cut me off and is probably doing that, right? I mean, that means she wants to, right? He's like, what's your problem? And I was like, and he's like, why don't you just drill right deeply down into what the problem is here? He's like, really, you're just struggling to believe that you're special enough for her to come home to you if she has a powerful experience with somebody else. So ultimately, this is about your self-esteem. Now, she didn't handle it in the right way, right? But, I did take that on board.
I think it's very enlightened of you to take that on board. And of course you're going to take that on board. And you know what? I get in some way you're right, actually, about it. Like, it is some way of saying you're not special enough for them to come home, right? However, I must admit that the idea, like what you're describing, is exactly what I mean by people's shit behavior. And that is not intended to say that is not intended to say that that's what your wife did or intend. But that's what I experience as that kind of crap behavior. Like, it's like,
yeah, but that was crap behavior on her part. That was crap behavior.
So it was but that's what I mean. It's like it's almost like when there's other people involved, there becomes this kind of protection over an experience that may happen. So now what you've got is someone going, well, I don't want to lose the experience of potentially being with someone else. So what I'm going to do is go to you. That is why I have a concern with it. That's actually my biggest concern with the whole thing. For me, obviously, other people, maybe you're not as insecure as me. I think someone said that's being insecure. Sure, make that insecure. I'm fine to be insecure if that's what it's called. I'm just saying, I do not tolerate being treated like I'm just calling out.
We're gonna, you know, you're still really upset about this, right? And that's
I can hear. I'm like,
no one's gonna make you be polyamorous, right? But I'm not gonna have it, and I'm not a representative of the polyamorous community. No one is.
No, neither am I.
By the way, but the point is, you know, because it happened a lot for you, where people were dicks about it, doesn't mean that is what polyamory is about. In its most beautiful heart, you know. It is about trusting yourself that you're loved, having a beautiful relationship with your partner, and being happy for them to connect with other people. And when it works, they come home and your life is enriched by the fact. Now, for me, I think it's important that you have understandings there that your partner isn't, you know, is getting the time right. I mean, for me, for people who are deeply, I do not know where people find the time, right, to be having meaningful relationships.
It's true. I was actually curious myself, Scotty. What are you snacking on, Tom? So it's like, what are you snacking on?
Yeah. I've been really busy this morning, so I'm having my lunch whilst we're talking. It's very professional. I am having Marmite sandwiches.
Okay, Marmite is so cute. Won't lie. It's a fucking hard one to watch, dude.
Like, they bring out Vegemite because they thought Marmite was meat-based. I'm very confused. Why Vegemite when Marmite is veggie? Anyway, you know. I'm very confused.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to say this because I just noticed that, you know, what I'm experiencing is actually probably some of the resistance towards accepting the relationships. It's like, I actually gave it a go. You know, I'm someone that would be very open and very, you know, I gave it a go, and I had this repeated kind of experience with it. So potentially what's there is that people who have people that have had the experiences like I have are just like a big no. And there's actually a lot of trust and safety. My whole thing is around trust and safety, right? I can, for me, it's like there is no trust and there is no safety in those kind of relationships. So I'm not even going to go there anymore. It's a no from me.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where I will express to even someone I'm dating, you know, whoever that I might be potentially, hypothetically dating, that I don't want them to be with anyone else. And I will call it out so bluntly and go, essentially, if you are, I can't guarantee I'm hanging around.
All right. So let's flip this the other way. Okay. Right. Because in your long-term relationships, right? Has the vibrancy of the sex life stayed high all the way through?
Oh,
after a couple of years?
No.
Okay. So what I've seen to be true, right? And are there people in monogamous relationships who keep it really awesome and juicy forever? Yes, of course it happens. Yeah. But what is common, right, within the monogamous deal, right, is in order for people to keep it tidy, right? And to not be sexual with other people. Because the truth is, just you walk down the street, you see people you fancy, right? You feel drawn to people. You have a live sexuality that beyond the fears and the rigidity of what we think socially acceptable, or the fact that means our partner might leave us, right? You still are juicy for other people. So to not be juicy with other people, we have to tone it down. And so people think, oh, over time we just become less sexualized with our partner. It's like, no, to be monogamously connected to people commonly, not always, then what we end up doing is turning our general vibrancy down, because we have to behave ourselves and keep it tidy. And for a long, long time,
Totally.
I used to believe there was something wrong with me, because the socially accepted idea is when you fall in love, that's the only person you want to sleep with. And I struggled to do that, and it involved me generally being incredibly restricted in what I did. It meant that in certain situations I didn't drink at all, because I didn't want to be an awful human. But for me, realizing actually that's like my ability to be in love with a person and to be sexual with other people and to feel love for other people is like, oh, it's been so refreshing, and
Yeah.
and actually has meant that. And my partner and I are just incredibly open and honest about the fact we feel sexual towards other people. And, you know, she goes to the gym and I'm like, any hot people in the jacuzzi, darling? She's like, oh, there was one guy. I said, you have a good flirt. You know, it's like there's a juiciness and a freedom there where I'm finally deeply honest about the fact that I, you know, am a, you know, passionately sexual being who's not going to be confined to being attracted to one person. I mean, I used to be in those relationships where you wouldn't even talk about other people you fancied. And you walk down the street and you saw someone that was stunning, you'd look the other way because you know your partner would notice that you found them gorgeous. It's like, we'll look at a beautiful flower and go, my God, that flower's beautiful. We'll look at a beautiful sunset and be amazed and marvel at its beauty. But in some relationships, we're not allowed to marvel at the beauty of other humans.
Actually, I actually really do get what you're saying. And it's definitely not that for me. I think, you know, firstly, I didn't know that we were going to do this topic. And now I've just sort of like, I threw myself into it. And then I realized how reactivated I am by it. Like, just how much is there that I haven't obviously worked through. That's why I was like, Tom will probably end up doing a process on me. But it's true. I must admit, one of the things that I've really enjoyed in all my relationships recently with anyone is that I'm really adamant that being able to express sexuality is really important. So being able to acknowledge that, you know, there are sort of these thoughts, these feelings, this energy, if you call it, everyone's got different names for it. You know, some people call it this life force. There's all different ways in which you can refer to it or whatever, that just is there, whether I'm in a monogamous relationship or not. And being able to express that is so important. And I want to have a partner that is open to do that. What I guess I'm saying is that you can have that, but not have to be polyamorous. You can actually have that in a monogamous relationship as well.
Yeah, for sure. My ex and I were monogamous, although we did tantra trainings, which involved being sexual with other people, right? So, you know, not your traditional definition of monogamous, but we considered it training. But
yeah,
but we coined a name for what we wanted to be, which was vibrantly alive and sexually expressed in our full glorious selves. And we felt that we were allowed to be kind of really flirtatious as long as we weren't needing to do it for our own validation. So as long as we were just being our glorious, shiny selves, that we're in our sexuality and being appealing and attractive and flirting from that place, because for the sheer joy of it, then we figured that was allowed, and we called it polyvivacious.
Okay, polyvivacious.
Yeah, which is being our juicy selves. But the truth is, the constraints of that relationship and the fact that actually it was, you know, we weren't more free, you know, ended up probably ending our relationship, because I just got more and more open and honest about the fact that, yeah, I think we can love more than one person, and I think we can be deeply in love with one person and feel like expressing ourselves sexually with others. And, you know, the thing that makes it bad is when there's a dishonesty. The thing that's bad when you're not respecting the person. The thing that's bad when you're not communicating about it. But at the times in my life when I've been with a partner and they've been connecting with somebody else, and receiving incredible pleasure. And I've experienced compersion firsthand. And it's an amazing feeling to be free enough, and for you and your then partner to discuss these amazing experiences we've shared with other people, and then come home and just found our own connection deepened by it, not threatened, deepened.
Yeah.
And our ability to communicate you have to take that to the next level to be able to manage that complexity.
I think so, yeah. And I suppose, like Scotty has just said that then, I think it's important to know and be comfortable that poly is not for everyone, and there doesn't need to be an apology for this. I think more people could be more open to other stuff than traditional relationships that don't work. Yeah, that work for everyone, but not feel bad. But I think that's actually a really good point. You know, let's say, you know, I sort of had a many kind of experiences like you suggested, Tom, with your ex. And I think at some point I got communication has got to be it. And I'm a big communicator, and I want to be able to, you know, be able to go, if I've never explored something where that communication has been that open, that it would be freeing enough for me to even like fully go into it. I could be real about that. But I suppose at some level, I kind of settled in with, I like the idea of vibrantly alive, sexually expressive. I like that, where it's like, I love being able to indulge in and talk to and express with my partner or whoever about who I find attractive or intimate desire or anything like that. Just being free to speak about it and indulge in it and imagine it and you know, think about it, which I say is a bit separate from needing to break any kind of commitment to the monogamy. Like, I do like having one person, and it does threaten me in some way, the idea of my partner being with someone else outside of that. Yep. Now, have I tried? I have. And at some point I went, this is just maybe what's important to me. Maybe this is just what works for me, like what Scott's saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important what Scott's saying. It's absolutely true. Some people really, really are comfortable in monogamy. It doesn't involve them squashing themselves into an unreal, unexpressed box. And it's just how they like to roll and operate, you know. And the thing I think is interesting, you heard of the bonobo monkeys?
Yes, those, yes.
So the bonobos, and I'm not a bonobo expert, but I find it interesting that, as I understand it, the bonobos live in a place where there is an abundance of food and no predators. So there is no need for the offspring to be well adapted to environment, right? There's no survival of the fittest situation, right? They can breed badly, have idiot monkey kids, and that kid's going to be fine because it doesn't need to run fast to avoid being eaten, and it doesn't need to be genetically like powerful to get food because there's an abundance, right? So because there are none of those archaic genetical evolutionary pressures on their system, they're not monogamous. They just sit around all day eating and making love with everyone. And they don't have any of those alpha male stuff is gone, or the competitiveness stuff is gone, because there's none of these seeds competing to survive in a harsh environment. And some of those patterns of our evolutionary benefits are at play in our current modern day choices. It's like we're being run by our cave woman, who's like, you're worried someone's going to drag your woman off by the hair, and
knock them over the head.
Yeah, exactly. It's, as opposed to she's going to willfully go next door, roll around with the cave woman next door, and then come back because everyone's sharing food right now and there's no predators anymore. It's like there's something we could learn from the bonobos, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe that's why we're noticing that polyamory is becoming more talked about. I certainly have people in my own circles that are in relationships, successful relationships like that. It was actually them having friends that have had long-term relationships, polyamorous relationships, that had me try, explore it myself. He had one of my friends, he had me eating and making love all day. There you go, D. That had me try it out.
I'm going to start a bonobo cult.
Yeah, that's right. It had me tried all day. But at some point, and I think, Sky said, when we become aware, acknowledge, accept things in our own time, potentially, or maybe just like Scotty said, maybe at some point, maybe there just is no way to be, or as this has evolved, as we've become more aware, and a lot of the evolutionary pressures have eased as well in the globe, maybe that's why it's arisen.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, but also as well, like, having been a therapist for 20 years, I can't tell you how much pain is in the world because monogamy hasn't worked for groups, right? Like,
That's
so much pain because mum had an affair or dad had an affair, or marriage is breaking up because they think that means that love is gone, or and it's like, again, people lying, being deceptive, all the bullshit that goes with I want to have sex with other people but I've made an agreement not to, right? And it's like, maybe that there are some people that believe that the principle of monogamy and our failing attempts to stick to it, but when we stick to it, it means that there's a slow death of our actual sexuality. We end up living with a kind of sexless roommate. It's like, it's a huge problem. It's a socially conditioned problem. Some people believe it's a huge problem because people just don't actually fit it. It's always a compromise, and it was always about, some people believe it was about social oppression and actually about containing the wild woman. Because if the woman was truly in her free thing, the man is worried that she would just be this wild, untamable, like banshee witch who would just bring us all to the forest and remind us to take off our suits, and not to just concentrate on buying shit. It's like, some believe that the wild woman, the free woman, the spiritual access point to Mother Earth has been oppressed by the institution of marriage.
Look, I don't disagree with you there. I mean, I was in a relationship for 13 years. That I had a very similar relationship to anyone who had a relationship for 13 years, and then it turned into something. And I was definitely the one. I turned into an open relationship, and I was definitely the one that struggled with that, not my ex. I found that so super threatening. I could not deal with it. I got jealous. I was trying to control it into something that had me feel safe. I think I could have actually gone being very suppressed, even though all I wanted to do was bust out and express my sexuality. I could have gone being fully repressed because I felt safe with someone I didn't think would leave me.
Yeah.
And the idea, yeah.
Sorry, I've talked over you. Go ahead.
No, you're right.
I think what I want to say here is, this is the one thing that people kind of get it, where they experience a lot of pain, is it's really common when people are in love with someone, they've been with someone for a long, long time, it's not working anymore, they're not connected,
yeah,
and but they don't want to separate, but they want to fuck other people, right? And they're and then they go, okay, well, let's open up this relationship. Then it's a fucking shit show. It's terrifying. Yeah. That's a reflection of the relationship having probably already ended. And that is not a scientific space in which to test the beauty of polyamory at its highest point, right?
No.
That is going to be the place where the worst of human behavior is going to play out, the worst of the fears and the greatest offense. It's like some people, if your relationship is in trouble, never open it up to others, right? If your relationship is in a super powerful place where you can't keep your hands off each other and your connection is like absolutely golden solid, then it's like, great, open up to others, because then you're just like, cool, it tops us up. It's an additional thing. It's like someone else can, might have a different shaped body that you'd like to experience. They might be a different, it's like, okay, you want this. For me, it can actually take the pressure off. It's like, I can't be every kind of guy to my partner, shouldn't want to be. So there are some other people out there that are different shapes, different sizes, different styles. And it's like, so my partner gets to be fully expressed in every single way without me having to be everything. To some degree, it takes the pressure off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm just thinking, if I was someone that was like, no, I mean, I'm thinking about people that would watch this. I think my mum wouldn't be too keen to hear some of these stories that I'm saying right now. But that's okay. She knows that I talk about things that no one else does, so she kind of just deals with it. I'm just thinking, if I was someone that was really confronted by this, because I was really confronted even when I started talking about this, right? So I felt like the energy's kind of loosened up a bit. But if I was someone that was in a relationship right now, and I think you're right, that I've been in a long-term relationship, things aren't going great with me, and there's this kind of feeling like I would like to go sleep with other people, but I just could never have that conversation. What would you say? Because it's all that stuff was going on, but I didn't know how to talk about it.
I mean, listen, in the breakdown of my first marriage, I was feeling all this stuff, and I brought the book, which is kind of Bible of polyamory, called The Ethical Slut, right?
I was given that.
Right?
So
and I had to keep the book in my car because I was so scared that my then partner would read it and freak out.
Wow.
And anytime I ever broached anything slightly, you know, around that, she was, oh God, she was so closed down to it. It was so painful. It's like one thing, listen, we're not choosing it. And I think it's because she knew, you know, I think she knew ultimately that I was, you know, wilder and freer and wanted that. But, you know, she was enough. I didn't need that. But what I did need was to be able to bloody talk about it, you know? It's like, you know, it's like we're not always, you know, I've got 4 kids. I love traveling. I don't get to travel. I've got 4 kids. I should be able to talk about my desire to travel and be a free spirit, going where the wind blows me with my partner and them not losing their shit about it, right? But it's like, but if we're in a monogamous relationship, it's very scary for all parties to talk about the fact that maybe monogamy isn't the complete expression of my sexuality that it could be, you know?
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I think, I mean, even this conversation, right? This is definitely something that I don't think many people talk about openly. I know you know, I didn't know that about you. It's not something that we've talked about. And yet I just sort of like, you know, jumped into, oh my God, there's this thing happening in my life, you know.
Well, I want to be really clear as well. It's so just because I want to be careful that how I've spoken about this and how I speak about it, and using the tenses in the past and the present, is what I've learned about this is actually, if you're really public about it, and
yes.
Then actually it's really confronting, and it is really, really, it's so I'm just reading a comment. Oh, that's nice, Scotty. That's good. We can agree on something.
She didn't like you last week. She restored
I'm not sure
herself.
I totally agreed with you last week either. I wanted to understand it and I wanted to be able to speak freely about it. So at least I did. And I learned a lot. So thank you for all of the different things. What were we just saying? That's where I got sidetracked. I was reading comments. I was right onto something.
You wanted to be clear. You wanted to be clear about past and present and things that are happening.
So it's so confronting that I've realized that if you're in a dinner party and I've been at a dinner party in couples and a woman is present and she mentions she's polyamorous, right? Like she may as well put a target on her head because she suddenly represents a threat to all of these monogamous couples, you know, and it's like almost, you know, I've seen all these different things where it's like you represent freedom, but you're going to mess with our socially accepted system. And it's like, and even speaking to a guy at an event, let's call it a freedom event, and I was like, I just came from my best friend's birthday party, and I was like, cool, you know, does he not come to these things? He's like, no. I was like, you tell him about these things? He's like, not really. I'm like, he's like your best friend. He's like, he knows that I go to things that are a bit more free, but he's in a really deep monogamous relationship, and if I told him about this stuff, it wouldn't be kind because there's no way he would want it, but he couldn't enjoy it. So I don't you know, it's not kind of me to be telling him about all these great experiences I'm having because it would mess with his system, and he's happy.
So you're saying that right now, because of the fact that it's not, there's so much dynamic and so much for us to actually work through around this issue, sometimes not opening it up and talking about it is actually a good thing. Well, keeping this sort of personal.
Well, I think, you know, I think a lot of people of polyamorous are very private about it.
They are.
Very private
Yeah.
about it because people are very judgmental, and it's threatening and it's confronting.
Yes, you've got that. Yeah. Well, and you probably, if there's any other people out there like me who gave it a go and just got super burnt repeatedly and eventually just went, it's a no from me under any circumstances. there's also the having to deal with, which I mean, I know I'm going to go away and get that sort of processed for myself, but there's also having to deal with people's reactions to, like anything, being treated badly in the past, where it is something new. It isn't something that people do. So effectively, people are sort of working their way through it. But in my cases, there was no communication whatsoever, like none. And it wasn't even, it was like, this is what's happening, deal with it. Like what your ex did.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because some people believe that you should just talk all through everything, right? It's like, we did this and then we did that and we went there. You're right.
Oh, yeah, no, not
right?
that.
And then other people, they're like, I am meeting with one of my significant others, and that's all you're going to know, and they don't give loads of details. And, there's, I agree, Anastasia, let's celebrate difference. There are so many different styles of which people will be in relationship, and, but I do think, in simple terms, a lot of people trying to fit themselves into a monogamous box is not really fitting, them thinking there's something wrong with them, and them kind of in hiding and in shame. And there are new flavors and new ways in which people can relate differently and be more honest about finding other people attractive, and not necessarily being held back by a conditioned idea about relationship based on, ideas that were there to create social cohesion with an original kind of bent in religiosity and control, which don't necessarily have to fit.
Well, and I totally get what you're saying. And I guess the one last question, because I know we're getting close to 10, we didn't answer the coaching question, so we're probably going to have to come back next week. Even though this is a 4-part series, I think we're going to just continue having these. This is just too much fun. Yeah. But the last one I wanted to sort of say was, so what do you think about the fact that, so I'll put it this way, it's almost like if you're not okay with it's not okay, but if you're not practicing or doing something polyamorous, then it's your insecurity and you just haven't moved through things and blah, blah, blah. I mean, what would you say to that? I don't know about that. Because that's shame, and that's shame as well, right?
So I hear that, right? There's different styles, right? Some people just really want to be monogamous. People who are really happy in that, that's fine, right? And I think some people that's from a place of it. Other people, it's like, I don't feel certain enough about myself, and that would be uncomfortable because I don't. And I'm okay with how uncomfortable I am because I don't want a partner that's going to put me through that kind of like challenge. I would choose to not be challenged by it, right? So there is that where it's like, yes, it is, a confidence challenge, and I'm fine with that. And I don't choose that because who wants their relationship to be like a test of confidence? And there are other people, it's just like, yeah, that's not my choosing. I think what can turn up in some worlds that are sex positive, and I've definitely seen this in the tantra world, and some of the less ethical tantra training definitely has this, where there's this idea, right, we're going to have an exercise now. We're going to have an exercise now, and you're going to be sexual with them. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And people are like, and the pressure there is, well, your unwillingness to do this shows that you're egotistically attached to one thing happening or another. And therefore, if you were truly enlightened, you would let me shag you up the arse right now. And that, I mean,
yes.
that is actually a quote, right? That has actually been said within a tantric training,
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And what I have seen is exploitative and manipulative people, often men, not always men, who are kind of love bombing people as a seduction tool, and then breaking hearts, not being committed, not being kind, and when challenged, then their defense is, this is just ego and you should just let me be free. And really they're not being careful, they're not being cautious, they're not being kind, they're being dicks. And they're doing it under the guise of spiritual freedom. It's like, no, you're just a player, right? Who's being manipulative. You're using manipulation to create false connection that you exploit sexually, and then get confused, or then can like pull the ripcord on people who are completely into you on the basis that you owe them nothing because it's all about freedom. And when they're upset, there is no purchase and there is no control and no clawback because they're kind of doing it under the guise of freedom. That's awful. There was a question for the panel, but it's just disappeared.
Yeah, there was. It has. Yeah. It's right here. Absolutely.
If the person discloses poly, is there a chance that they are seen as fishing for a relationship? Oh, yeah, I think that's true. I think definitely that if someone discloses their poly, some people think that that they're just going to have sex with everybody, and that even by mentioning it. And I will also say that that I have had a partner who would mention that she's poly as a flirtation because people respond in that way. So
it's like intentional.
Yeah, she was intentional. She'd talk about her tantra training and she'd talk about being polyamorous because that, made people think that they might have a chance with her, So she, but yes, definitely I've seen that. I've seen that people presume that you're just going to jump into bed with them, or you're even hitting on them by mentioning it.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the same as the whole, I've experienced that, even the whole gay, lesbian thing. It's like, if I mention I'm a lesbian, it kind of means I'm going to hit on all the women. I'm like, no, it's not why I'm mentioning it. In some way, I mean, I don't even know why I mention it. I do mention it a lot, just probably to be funny. But it's like, no, that doesn't mean, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to hit on all the women at all. It's like I'm polyamorous. It's like it's an expression of an identity, like anything. It's part of an identity that's expressed. Like how I see myself, hear myself, I relate to myself. A way of being,
Yeah, I think so. I whether I'm in and out of a monogamous relating or not, I want to be able to be the person that can see my partner having pleasure with someone else. That could either be a beautiful foot rub, could be an amazing conversation, could be an amazing session of lovemaking. I want to be the kind of person that would be happy for them having a good experience. And I've experienced that and loved it. I've also experienced when I thought I could handle that, and for some reason, some detail of it really got to me. So it's not always been easy when that's happened, but when I have done that, I felt really, really widened and expansive, and it actually really is a practice of self-love and a self-trust in my own value, that my partner can have amazing experiences with someone else. And of course, they're not going to want to go off and be away with them. In fact, because it's amazing to be with a partner that's happy for you to have that, you end up feeling more connected to them because they love you so much that they're willing for you. They're happy for you to have this, and they're not happy. It's not an despite. It's an absolute yes. And that experience can be incredibly bonding, not threatening. Like, why would you want to not be with someone that wants you to have those experiences with other people? It's like there's nowhere to go. Right? If you're with that person, why would you want to not be with that person anytime? It actually reduces the threat to some degree.
It's interesting. Absolutely. I hear what you're saying. And I suppose what there is for me to acknowledge is that where you're at with that is not where I'm at with it. It's like, I like the idea, and then I go, I don't. I'm not at a place where I want that at all. I mean, I'm single, right? So it's a bit different, but Are you
though? Are you?
Yes, I am.
But you just started on a journey with someone, right?
Well, yeah, but we've agreed that I'm single. Okay.
I don't know what that means.
So I am. I'm saying, oh God, I feel really confronted now. I'm saying that being single is a commitment to me too. Like I've said for the full 2020, like being in a relationship, I've said that I want to be single for 2020. And, you know, I'm lucky to have met someone who's pretty awesome that I see as well as be single. And it sounds
No, that makes sense. That
yeah, it
makes
does.
sense.
And it's very yeah. Exactly, Scotty. Labels. It's like I actually really, you know, I feel like I'm trying to explain myself because it's not a typical relationship. It's like it's whatever what we're doing, and it's really mutual and it's creative and it's great. But
and
yeah,
it has all of the hallmarks in your kind of energy, right? That a couple of months from now, you're going to want to kick it up to the next level. And I want you to give yourself permission to drop this 2020 commitment if your heart knows it's right. Don't hold on to that arbitrarily. Yeah, it's okay. That commitment was really important. But if you fall in love with someone and want to kick it up a level, you know, you can't do that, right? You do know that, right?
I do. We'll go through that.
2 months. 2 months, I reckon.
Oh my God. I think you know, I've been in a relationship for a very long time, over a very long period, and I've tried a whole lot of stuff, and I've been and dated single, and I've done all that things. One of the things I've never done is just be single for a year. It's like a commitment. I'm committed to self.
When you made that commitment, did you mean celibate single? When you made the commitment?
No, I made it very clear to myself when I talked to myself about it that celibacy was not the deal.
Okay.
And it was also to explore things outside of the norm. So how it could look any other way. It didn't have to be single looks like this or relationships look like this. It could just be whatever works.
Nice.
Yeah, but I do find myself actually, you know, I noticed how embarrassed I felt when I mentioned it, right? Because it's like, I don't even know how to do it. There's no definition for this. There's just no labels. It's true. I wish there were no labels.
She looks happy.
Yes, thank you.
Sky's like, she looks happy. That's why I said 2 months, because I think she's like, you know, I don't know if this romance person is watching, but you know, it looks like it's got the makings of something really lovely.
Okay, so
that's fun.
Okay. Oh, at least you're not a typical lesbian U-Haul. I know, right? Kudos to you.
Lesbian U-Haul? What's that?
You haven't heard of that? Oh
no.
And this is actually the good point, because this is why I did it as well, Scotty. I'm glad you brought this up, right? Is one of the things that, well, it's kind of a joke in the lesbian community, right? Because women feel all the feels, and that sort of takes over. Like, you know, that energy of that it's the oxytocin, it takes over. And women are quite expressive with each other. So you get two women on oxytocin who just get so into each other and get so into the feelings and the body sensations of the relationship. And they literally move in within a couple of days. It's a joke. It happens frequently.
They move all their stuff in.
Yeah, they move in a couple of days. One of the things that I was really clear about, and I've done a lot of work on this recently with a somatic coach. I've got a somatic coach, body coach, right? To really get intimate with self, was that I could feel all of the feelings, the love, the sexual expression, the intimacy. I didn't have to hold back on what I felt, thought, said, and I could still be safe to do that and express that being single with someone that I might just date once, twice, or maybe more, because it turns, you know, however, that I didn't have to hold back.
Nice. So it's not holding back, but it's not running away with it and moving in after 2 weeks. Tamsin says here that, you know, she would never commit to anyone less than 3 months. And and that she might stay exclusive while she's exploring whether she wants to be exclusive. And yeah, we talked about that before we went on air, actually, that sometimes in it there's a period of time when you're exploring, do I want to be exclusive? And when you're exploring that, it makes sense to be exclusive in the meantime. So I agree. And I think actually, you know, there's something to be said for actually waiting for the 6 months, for when all the juicy, like, hormonal stuff, the real whiz bang stuff has died down, and then you're really in the real compatibility stuff, to see what you're.
That, I think, is one of the most important things, because one of the things I saw that I did when I got all in the feels and was like, bing, crash, everyone's feeling so amazing. We just need to, like, shag each other every day because we've got to keep this thing alive. You know, 6 months, well, firstly, I just overlooked really bad behaviors that didn't work for me. Like, I allowed things that went against my values.
You burnt the red flags. You fucked on the red flags. Right?
I didn't. I turned them. I pretended they were green. Are they really red? They're green. Are they? They're really?
Yeah.
They're green. There's some green in that red flag.
You made a bed of red flags and had sex with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I noticed, is that these feelings are actually mine. They're not anyone else's. They're not the relationships. They're this beautiful energy that I can channel into my work, that I can channel into things that matter to me. And I can, like, actually indulge in and be in the feelings that maybe come up in an experience with someone as a single person. And yeah, okay, maybe there's some elements of what I'm experiencing right now that look like a relationship. I'm enjoying someone's company a lot more than just once, you know, but it's like, I don't have to make this something. I can just get really comfortable with loving that I have these feelings and these emotions and this energy, and I can be with it. I don't have to turn this into, we need to now move in and fucking get married.
No.
Particularly if it's only been a very short period of time.
Got it. Agreed.
And I'm single.
I agree. I get it.
Yeah. So
that sounds good. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. I'm glad. And it's hard to define because it's not in the paradigm of relationship or single. It feels like it's not.
Well, I think we've got that conversation for the end.
Okay, all right, we're done here. All right. I think we've covered all ends of the polyamory, potentially. We could, exactly. I started to realize, Sky, I was like, fuck, now I'm fucking trying to convince someone of it. So who am I trying to convince? Maybe myself, babe. Yes. Well, anyway, what a great discussion this has been. I just love this. Tom, do you actually get it? Do you actually get it? Single doesn't mean celibate. No, it does definitely not. There are plenty of red flags. So thank you so much again for this discussion. Next week, let's do this coaching discussion, and we'll start that off because I think that's a good one to talk about.
Let's see that here. What are we talking about with the coaching thing? Let's whet some appetite if that's possible.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk. We've noticed a lot of things around the coaching, like can you be a coach after one weekend at a personal development course? There's a lot of coaches coming up and becoming that, and we just wanted to explore what ends of it. You know, does it work? Does it not work? Is there something behind that? The people that are actually doing it, is there more to it? Yeah, and just have a general discussion about all ends and the possible impacts of people jumping into coaching when they're not trained.
Yes, it's a meaty thing. Lots of things to talk about there, but it's not as clear cut as people might expect, actually.
No, I can't imagine it would be.
So I look forward to discussing all ends of the spectrum.
Next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys. Midday in the UK. Thank you so much for everyone that joined in. Tamsin, Scotty, thanks so much, Scotty. Anastasia, Sky, who's there. We had Kelsey. Who else is there? We had Linda at the end. Claire, thanks for joining in. And until next week, have an amazing night. And thank you all. Linda's last comment. I used to call it a Clayton's relationship, the relationship you have without having one. Yes, let's go with that. Thank you. It was fascinating. And thanks again, Tom. Until next week. See you later. Bye.